In a world chasing instant results and overnight success, there exists a forgotten truth. That real greatness takes time. Before genius, there is discipline. Before brilliance, there is failure. And before mastery, there is patience. Robert Greene's mastery is a timeless journey into the hidden process behind every extraordinary life. From Leonardo da Vinci to Mozart, from Charles Darwin to Freddie Roach, Greene reveals the path all masters walk. The path from apprentice, to creator, to visionary. This is not just a book about skill. It's about transformation, the awakening of your deepest potential. It's about discovering your life's task, enduring the struggle, and transcending the limits that hold most people back. Because mastery is not talent. It's not luck. It's the fusion of intuition and intellect. The moment when work becomes art, and time itself seems to slow around you. So, as you listen, remember, this is not just a summary. This is an invitation to slow down, to learn deeply, to rise above the noise, and walk the long road toward mastery. Welcome to Mastery, by Robert Greene. The journey to the ultimate power begins now. Introduction. There exists a form of power higher than status, money, or fame. It is a quiet power, one that cannot be faked, bought, or inherited. It's the power that comes from mastery, the ability to shape your reality, command your craft, and move through life with precision and purpose. Robert Greene begins this journey with a simple truth: every human being is born with potential, a spark of life that points toward a unique calling. But somewhere along the way, most people lose it. They settle for comfort, chase approval, or get lost in distraction. They drift. And in that drift, the spark fades. Greene tells us that mastery is not reserved for the chosen few, not for geniuses, prodigies, or the privileged. It's available to anyone willing to submit to the process of deep learning, to embrace struggle, and to commit to something greater than themselves. Throughout history, masters have walked this path: Leonardo da Vinci, Charles Darwin, Martha Graham, Benjamin Franklin. What unites them is not luck, but devotion. They each began as apprentices, absorbing every detail of their craft, studying those before them, and enduring years of obscurity. Slowly, they rose beyond imitation. They began to see the invisible patterns others couldn't, and that vision gave them their power. In a world obsessed with shortcuts and quick success, Greene's message feels almost radical: true greatness cannot be rushed. Mastery demands patience, humility, and time. It's not a flash of brilliance, it's a lifetime of discipline. He warns us that the modern world, with its endless distractions and constant noise, has made it harder than ever to achieve mastery. Our attention is scattered, our willpower fragmented. But the principles haven't changed. The brain, shaped over millions of years of evolution, still thrives on focus, repetition, and challenge. Greene invites us to step away from the surface-level chase, away from validation, away from fear, and to return to the deep work of becoming extraordinary. He calls mastery the ultimate power, because it transforms not just what we can do, but who we are. It's the quiet confidence of someone who knows they can adapt to any challenge. The serenity of someone who no longer seeks approval, because their worth is forged in skill, not opinion. The master doesn't imitate, they innovate. They don't compete, they create. And so, the journey begins here, not with ambition, but with awareness. Awareness of what draws you, what fascinates you, what you were born to do. That is your life's task. Find it, nurture it, and let it guide you. Because the moment you choose the path of mastery, you step into the flow of human greatness, the same current that carried every master before you. This is the beginning of your transformation. This is the pursuit of mastery, the ultimate power. Chapter 1: Discover Your Calling, the Life's Task. Every human being carries within them a seed of purpose, of potential, of something uniquely their own. But most people never let that seed grow. They get caught in the noise of life, chasing money, status, and approval, and in doing so, they forget who they were meant to become. Robert Greene calls this our life's task, the one thing we are born to master. It is the foundation of all greatness, the source of all fulfillment. When we find it, everything in life aligns. When we ignore it, nothing ever feels quite right. To discover your life's task, Greene gives us 5 timeless principles, the 5 keys to uncovering your destiny. 1. Return to your origins. The first step is to look backward. To return to the beginning, to your origins. Before the world told you who you should be, you already knew who you were. As a child, you were drawn to certain things without hesitation, stories, patterns, inventions, people. You followed your curiosity instinctively. Greene urges us to reconnect with that early energy, to trace the path back to those moments of pure fascination. What made time disappear? What made you feel alive? The answers to those questions are clues. They are the fingerprints of your life's task. Every master began there, Leonardo da Vinci studying light and shadow as a child, or Darwin's fascination with the natural world long before his theories took shape. Greatness always begins with curiosity, not ambition. 2. Occupy the perfect niche. Once you have rediscovered your direction, you must find the environment that fits your nature. Your life's task doesn't exist in isolation, it thrives in a niche, a space where your talents meet the world's needs. Greene calls this occupying the perfect niche. It's about placing yourself where your individuality has room to breathe, where you can contribute something that only you can create. Some niches are discovered gradually. Others are shaped over time through experimentation. But once you find your perfect space, once you stop forcing yourself into roles that don't fit, you'll feel a kind of alignment, a sense of rightness, that no amount of money can replace. 3. Avoid the false path. But beware the greatest danger, the false path. This is the path chosen not by your inner compass, but by fear, pressure, or imitation. It's the career you pick because it seems respectable. The dream you pursue because others applaud it. The false path may look safe, but it always ends the same way: frustration, burnout, and quiet regret. Greene warns that following what's comfortable is the surest way to mediocrity. Masters are never guided by comfort. They are guided by necessity, by something within them that refuses to stay silent. To reach mastery, you must be willing to disappoint others if it means remaining true to yourself. 4. Let go of the past. To move forward, you must release the grip of the past. We often stay trapped in identities that no longer serve us, jobs, relationships, or expectations that limit our growth. Greene reminds us that mastery requires transformation, and transformation demands letting go. You cannot become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you used to be. Let go of the old skin. Let go of the mistakes, the labels, the fear of starting over. The masters throughout history all experienced this shedding. They reinvented themselves again and again, burning away what was false to reach something truer. 5. Find your way back. And finally, find your way back. Back to the person you were before the world told you what was impossible. Back to that sense of wonder and passion that once guided every decision. This is not nostalgia, it's a return to authenticity. Life pulls us away from our essence, mastery is the journey back. When you find your way back, you'll feel it, a deep alignment between who you are and what you do. Your energy becomes focused. Your discipline becomes natural. Work no longer feels like duty, it becomes devotion. Greene explains that once you reconnect with your life's task, something remarkable happens. The world begins to open. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming now feel purposeful. Failure becomes feedback. Each day, each hour, moves you closer to mastery. Your mind grows sharper. Your creativity deepens. You begin to attract people and opportunities that resonate with your path. You stop chasing, and start becoming. Every master began this way, by listening to that quiet internal pull, and by trusting it completely. So take the time to reflect, to look inward, to rediscover what has always been calling you. Because when you find your life's task, you awaken the deepest power a human being can possess. The power of purpose. And purpose is the first step toward mastery. The ultimate power. Chapter 2, Submit to Reality, the Ideal Apprenticeship. Once you have found your path, the real journey begins. The discovery of your calling is only the spark, what comes next is the fire. To turn potential into power, you must submit to a process older than civilization itself, the apprenticeship. In this phase, Robert Greene tells us, there are no shortcuts. You must learn, to embrace repetition, discipline, and humility. You must put aside your ego and surrender to the craft, letting time and struggle shape you into something greater. This is the ideal apprenticeship, a period of transformation that every master must endure. It is not glamorous. It is not easy. But it is sacred. 1. Value learning over money. In the beginning, most people chase the wrong rewards. They look for titles, recognition, or income. But Greene reminds us, the true apprentice seeks something far more valuable, learning. When Benjamin Franklin was a young man, he turned down high-paying jobs to work in print shops where he could study writing, debate, and philosophy. He understood that knowledge compounds, that what you learn now will pay you for life. Your early years should be spent gathering skills, not wealth. Let others chase quick gains, your task is to build foundations that no one can take away. When you value learning over money, you step into a mindset of growth, a mindset that transforms failure into feedback and every obstacle into a lesson. 2. Keep expanding your horizons. An apprentice must never stagnate. The world changes, and so must you. Greene tells us that learning should feel like climbing a mountain, difficult, exhausting, but always leading to a wider view. Michael Faraday began as an uneducated apprentice in a bookbinding shop. But his curiosity pushed him to read the scientific texts he bound. That curiosity led him into the laboratory of Humphrey Davy, where, through persistence and humility, he transformed from an assistant into one of the greatest scientists in history. Faraday's story reminds us that the boundaries of your environment do not define your destiny. The curious mind finds a way to grow, no matter where it begins. So keep expanding. Study beyond your field. Learn from the masters, from books, from failure. Everything you absorb becomes part of your arsenal. 3. Revert to a feeling of inferiority. To learn deeply, you must accept how little you know. The apprentice's greatest strength is humility. Greene calls this the return to feeling inferior, the deliberate choice to be a student again. Our egos crave recognition, but mastery demands submission. You must be willing to make mistakes, to look foolish, to start from zero, again and again. Think of Mozart, who even in his youth, despite his fame as a prodigy, studied tirelessly. He dissected the works of Bach and Haydn, not to copy them, but to understand the machinery of genius. He knew that greatness comes from deconstructing what came before. The more you embrace this inferiority, the faster you grow. Pride is the enemy of progress. Humility is the soil in which mastery takes root. 4. Trust the process. The apprenticeship is long, and often, it feels endless. Years may pass with little recognition or reward. Many give up, believing they've failed, but Greene insists, trust the process. Skill development is invisible. The mind takes time to rewire itself, to absorb, connect, and automate new patterns. Every repetition strengthens the neural pathways that lead to excellence. Think of a sculptor slowly carving marble, each strike seems small, but every one reveals more of the masterpiece hidden within. If you can endure this quiet stage, if you can persist while others seek comfort, you'll reach a threshold where effort becomes instinct, and knowledge becomes art. 5. Move toward resistance and pain. The final key to mastery is perhaps the hardest to accept. Growth lives where discomfort begins. We are wired to avoid pain, but Greene teaches that resistance is the signal of progress. The harder the challenge, the greater the transformation. When you find yourself struggling, frustrated, uncertain, afraid, you are exactly where you should be. That is the edge where real learning happens. Every master has felt it. Every genius has suffered through it. What separates them from the rest is not talent, but endurance, the willingness to push through difficulty until it becomes strength. In the end, Greene reminds us that the apprenticeship is not a phase to rush through. It is life's most sacred preparation, the crucible where raw potential is turned into power. It demands patience, humility, and faith in the long road ahead. It demands that you trade pride for practice, comfort for challenge, and distraction for devotion. When you submit to reality, when you embrace discipline, repetition, and failure, something extraordinary happens. You begin to transform. Your hands learn faster than your mind. Your instincts sharpen. Your confidence deepens. And one day, without realizing it, you cross the invisible line between learning and mastery. Because to submit to the process, to humble yourself before your craft, is to step into alignment with the laws of greatness themselves. And that alignment is the ultimate power. Chapter 3, Absorb the Master's Power, the Mentor Dynamic. You can walk far alone, but with a guide, you can go farther still. Once you've submitted yourself to the apprenticeship, once you've learned to be humble, disciplined, and patient, there comes a moment when your growth begins to plateau. You've gained skill, but something is missing, a higher perspective, a sharper edge. That is when the role of a mentor becomes essential. Robert Greene tells us that a mentor is a living embodiment of mastery, a person who has already traveled the road you now walk. Through them, you gain not only technique and wisdom but a direct connection to life's deeper patterns, lessons that cannot be found in books or classrooms. But this relationship is delicate, powerful, and transformative. If you approach it with the right spirit, humility, curiosity, and independence, your mentor can become the catalyst that accelerates your journey toward mastery. 1. Choose the mentor according to your needs. The first step is to choose wisely. Your mentor is not meant to be a hero you worship, but a mirror you learn from. Greene reminds us that the ideal mentor is not the most famous or the most successful person you can find, but the one whose strengths balance your weaknesses, whose skills complement your potential. When Carl Jung sought out Sigmund Freud, he wasn't looking for admiration, he was looking for understanding. Freud's analytical mind and psychological insight provided Jung with structure and form. But Jung's curiosity, imagination, and spiritual depth would later expand beyond Freud's limits. A true mentor doesn't give you all the answers. They give you the right questions, the kind that force you to grow. Seek a mentor who challenges you, who exposes your flaws, who pushes you toward discomfort. Because only pressure shapes steel into a blade. 2. Gaze deep into the mentor's mirror. When you find your mentor, your next task is not to imitate them blindly, but to observe them deeply. Greene describes this stage as gazing into the mentor's mirror, studying their methods, their habits, their choices, and their emotional control. You are not copying the surface, you are absorbing the essence. In the laboratory of Humphrey Davy, a young Michael Faraday watched everything, the way Davy handled experiments, how he approached failure, how he balanced logic with creativity. Faraday understood that the mentor's real gift was not information, but presence, the living example of what mastery looks like. In their actions, you will see both their greatness and their flaws. Both are valuable. The greatness inspires, the flaws warn. Your goal is not to become a second version of your mentor, it's to learn the internal rhythm of mastery, and then make it your own. 3. Transfigure their ideas. Eventually, the student must move beyond imitation. Once you've absorbed your mentor's wisdom, Greene says, you must transfigure their ideas, transform them into something that reflects your individuality. This is the natural evolution of every master. Mozart studied Haydn. Da Vinci learned from Verrocchio. Jung began under Freud. But each, in time, broke free, not out of rebellion, but out of necessity. You take what you've learned and expand it, twist it, and refine it until it bears your own signature. That is when mentorship becomes alchemy, the passing of one mind's light into another, to be reborn in a new form. 4. Create a mirror relationship. In the final stage, the dynamic between mentor and apprentice transforms. The hierarchy fades. What was once teacher and student becomes something deeper, a mirror relationship. You reflect back to your mentor what they once were, hungry, curious, alive. In turn, they reflect to you what you can become, wise, composed, powerful. This is not the end of mentorship, but its completion. The circle closes when the student is no longer beneath the master, but beside them, ready to surpass them. Greene teaches that surpassing your mentor is not an act of betrayal, it's the ultimate tribute. It means you have fully absorbed their power, and added something of your own. The mentor dynamic is one of life's most sacred exchanges. It requires humility to begin, courage to continue, and independence to complete. When done right, it accelerates growth at lightning speed, compressing decades of trial and error into a few years of focused learning. But when done wrong, when based on flattery, dependence, or ego, it becomes stagnation. So, choose wisely. Observe deeply. Learn fearlessly. And when the time comes, step forward boldly into your own authority. Because the ultimate purpose of a mentor is not to create followers, but to awaken another master. And that awakening, that moment when knowledge transforms into understanding, and imitation becomes creation, is the ultimate power. Chapter 4, See People as They Are, Social Intelligence. In your pursuit of mastery, it is not enough to master your craft, you must also master yourself, and those around you. Every environment you enter is filled with egos, emotions, and hidden motivations. Technical brilliance means little if you cannot navigate the people who shape your world. This is where social intelligence becomes your shield, your compass, and your silent weapon. When you learn to see people as they truly are, not as you wish them to be, you begin to move through life with clarity and control. Emotional intelligence is not a soft skill, it's a survival tool. It allows you to predict behavior, avoid conflict, and align yourself with reality instead of illusion. Think of Queen Elizabeth I. She ruled in a treacherous court filled with ambition and deceit, yet she never allowed emotion or flattery to cloud her judgment. Her power came from observation, from understanding what people wanted and using that knowledge with subtle precision. Or consider Benjamin Franklin, who mastered not only printing and politics, but the art of charm. His humor, empathy, and restraint opened doors that raw intellect never could. Robert Greene divides this chapter into 4 essential practices, for lessons that turn ordinary awareness into true social mastery. 1. Speak through your work. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't boast. Let your work be your voice. When you communicate through action and results, you bypass the games of ego and insecurity that infect so many human interactions. Franklin understood this, he let the quality of his work speak for him. Over time, respect followed naturally. 2. Beware the fragile ego. People are not rational creatures. Most are ruled by insecurity, vanity, and pride. The fragile ego is everywhere, and when you ignore it, you invite unnecessary enemies. Learn to read the subtle signs of envy and defensiveness. Greene reminds us, never outshine your superiors, and never humiliate others, even accidentally. Protecting another's ego is often the price of peace. 3. See through people's masks. Everyone wears a mask, the confident leader, the charming friend, the humble colleague. These are performances, shaped by fear and desire. The socially intelligent person looks beyond appearances. Notice the contradictions between words and body language, between what people say and what they do. Over time, patterns emerge, and truth reveals itself. 4. Develop the empathic skill. Empathy is the highest form of intelligence. It requires silence, patience, and the ability to step outside your own needs. Greene teaches that when you truly listen, without judgment, without interruption, you begin to feel the inner logic of others. You see what drives them. And once you understand that, you hold the keys to influence. 5. Suffer fools gladly. Not every battle is worth fighting. The wise apprentice learns to smile at ignorance, to endure foolishness without being dragged down by it. This is emotional maturity, the ability to remain calm in the storm of others' chaos. As Greene writes, the ability to suffer fools gladly is a sign of emotional strength. In mastering social intelligence, you do not manipulate, you understand. You learn to accept human nature, with all its flaws and contradictions. And once you do, you can move through life with grace and strategy, unshaken by the drama that consumes others. This, Greene says, is the ultimate power, to see people as they are, and still remain yourself. Because mastery is not only about knowledge or skill, it is about presence, perception, and understanding the deepest currents that move human beings. Chapter 5, Awaken the Dimensional Mind, the Creative Active Phase. After years of patient learning, humble repetition, and disciplined practice, something within you begins to shift. You are no longer merely an apprentice, you are becoming a creator. Your hands, your mind, your instincts now move as one. What once felt rigid and technical now flows effortlessly. This is the beginning of the creative active phase, the awakening of what Robert Greene calls the dimensional mind. At this stage, your relationship with your craft transforms. You are no longer confined by the rules, you understand them so deeply that you can bend, twist, and reinvent them. You begin to merge logic and intuition, reason and imagination, structure and chaos. You move from consuming knowledge to creating it. This is how Mozart turned the rigid forms of classical music into living emotion. How Albert Einstein, through years of disciplined scientific work, dared to imagine time and space as flexible dimensions. How Paul Graham fused programming, design, and business into something entirely new. They all reached beyond repetition, and into the open field of mastery. Let's explore the 4 subtopics that define this transformation. 1. The creative breakthrough. Every creative leap begins as an accumulation of small insights. You immerse yourself so deeply in your field that connections start forming naturally. Suddenly, what once seemed unrelated becomes a perfect fit. The creative breakthrough often feels like intuition, but in truth, it is the reward for years of absorbed effort. Greene reminds us that innovation is not born from chaos, it is born from structure. The deeper your foundation, the higher you can build. 2. The return to the beginner's mind. After mastery of the basics, you must learn to unlearn. To see the world with fresh eyes once again. The beginner's mind is fearless, curious, unburdened by assumption. It asks why when others say because. This openness allows you to rediscover your field's hidden corners, to question what experts take for granted. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." To reach true mastery, you must keep the spark of curiosity alive. 3. The open field. In the creative active phase, you enter what Greene calls the open field, a place of freedom beyond rigid boundaries. Here, you are not following instructions, you are creating them. The rules that once confined you now serve as tools. In this open field, patterns merge, disciplines blend, and you begin to innovate in ways that surprise even yourself. This is the world of the artist, the scientist, the entrepreneur, all connected by one truth: creation is the purest form of mastery. 4. The emotional pivot. Mastery is not only intellectual, it is emotional. Every great creator undergoes what Greene calls the emotional pivot, a moment where frustration, boredom, or doubt transforms into energy. Instead of running from difficulty, the master embraces it. This emotional resilience turns obstacles into opportunities. Einstein wrestled with equations that defied logic. Mozart faced rejection and rivalry. Yet both turned their inner tension into creation. Emotion becomes fuel for progress, not a barrier. When you awaken the dimensional mind, you step into your full potential. You are no longer imitating, you are expressing. No longer collecting knowledge, you are shaping it into form. The world around you becomes your canvas. Every challenge becomes a question: what can I make of this? What can I create that has never been seen before? This, Robert Greene tells us, is the highest state of human power, the state of mastery. The point where craft becomes art, and knowledge becomes vision. To awaken your dimensional mind is to return to the joy of discovery, to merge the logical with the imaginative, and to see the world as endless possibility. Because in the end, mastery is not the end of learning. It is the beginning of creation. Chapter 6, Fuse the Intuitive with the Rational, Toward Mastery. Subtitle, The Ultimate Power. After years of discipline, learning, and creative exploration, you reach the threshold of something extraordinary, a state where intellect and instinct become one. This is the final evolution of mastery. It is where thought disappears, and pure flow begins. Robert Greene calls this the fusion of the intuitive and the rational mind. At this level, you no longer think step by step. You simply act. Your movements, your decisions, your creations, they emerge with effortlessness and precision. You have absorbed so much knowledge, made so many mistakes, endured so much repetition, that your skill has become instinct. This is where true mastery lives, in the perfect balance between mind and body, logic and intuition, reason and rhythm. Look at Freddie Roach, one of the world's greatest boxing trainers. He doesn't calculate his students' every move consciously. He feels it, the rhythm, the timing, the weakness in the opponent's stance. His intuition is built on decades of experience, sharpened by countless rounds in the ring. Or consider John Coltrane, whose mastery of the saxophone went beyond technique. He merged soul and science, emotion and structure, to create music that still transcends time. This chapter is about entering that same sacred space, where the rational merges with the intuitive. Greene breaks it down into 4 key movements on the path to ultimate power. 1. The intuitive phase. At this stage, practice and repetition have rewired your brain. What once demanded conscious focus now flows through your subconscious. You don't try, you do. Like a grandmaster in chess, you see patterns without calculation. The intuitive phase is not magic, it's the mind operating at its highest speed, drawing from a vast library of experience. It is instinct built from reason. 2. The global perspective. When intuition awakens, your vision expands. You see not isolated details but entire systems, the interconnected web of your craft, your field, your world. This is what Greene calls the global perspective. You begin to anticipate problems before they occur, to predict outcomes with uncanny accuracy. It's not luck, it's the quiet reward of perception refined through mastery. The world slows down for you, even as you move faster than ever. 3. The return to simplicity. After years of complexity, you come back to the essence, simplicity. The master doesn't need to show off, they operate with elegance, clarity, and minimal effort. Every unnecessary motion disappears. Think of Coltrane's late compositions, simple yet infinite, every note deliberate. Or the martial artist whose movements are so economical, they seem effortless. This return to simplicity is the final sign that mastery has been achieved. 4. The path to the top. The journey to mastery is not a straight climb, it's a spiral. Each stage loops back, deepening your understanding. You revisit old lessons, but this time, with wisdom. You see that mastery was never about dominance, it was about unity. Unity between intellect and instinct, between work and life, between what you know and what you feel. You now see the invisible connections between everything, between science and art, between creation and destruction, between yourself and the world. The master becomes both student and teacher, always learning, always giving. In the end, mastery is not a destination. It is a return. You began this path with a sense of calling, a spark that whispered there was something you were meant to do, something that belonged only to you. That whisper became a pursuit. The pursuit became a discipline. And the discipline, through time, pain, and persistence, transformed you. Every hour of study, every failure, every small breakthrough, they weren't obstacles. They were the path itself. Robert Greene reminds us that mastery is not about perfection, nor about the applause of the world. It is about the quiet power that grows when you align your mind, your hands, and your soul toward one purpose. You discovered your life's task, your true calling. You submitted to the reality of apprenticeship, learning from those who came before. You absorbed the power of mentors, letting their wisdom guide you, until your own voice emerged. You developed social intelligence, learning not only to see the world, but to see people as they are. You awakened your dimensional mind, blending reason and imagination into something new. And finally, you fused intuition with intellect, until thought itself became action, and mastery became your nature. This is the cycle every great creator, innovator, and thinker has followed. It is the rhythm of human evolution. From Leonardo da Vinci sketching the flight of birds, to Einstein dreaming of light, to Mozart composing what words could never say, all followed this same eternal pattern. They were not born extraordinary. They became extraordinary through patience, focus, and devotion. The truth is this: every human being holds the potential for mastery. The difference lies only in persistence. In a world obsessed with shortcuts, mastery teaches us to slow down. To look deeper. To learn deliberately. To embrace the long process that transforms talent into power. Because in that process, something miraculous happens: you stop being merely a doer, and become a creator. You stop chasing approval, and begin shaping your own world. You become, as Greene writes, the master of your fate, the sculptor of your destiny. And so, your journey does not end here. It begins again, with each new skill you choose to learn, each challenge you choose to face. Every day offers a chance to begin anew, to refine your art, and to walk a little further along the path of mastery. For mastery is not a single act. It is a lifelong devotion. A way of seeing, of creating, of being. And when you finally reach that quiet state where effort dissolves into ease, where thought merges with instinct, where the work and the self are one, you will understand. You have not just learned a craft. You have become it. That is mastery. That is the ultimate power.